All right, there is so much to break down. Let's get the views then of former Western Cape Police Commissioner Dr. Lennit Max on what stood out for him. Dr. Max, good morning. Appreciate your time as always. And really interested to hear how well you thought the MPs acquitted themselves in their line of questioning, their follow-ups, and some of the issues that they were able to ventilate in the ad hoc committee hearings as compared to what we were able to hear at the Nhlanhla Commission of Inquiry so far. We know his testimony will conclude this morning around 11 o'clock. Fani Masemola will then be taking over. But what is your observation so far? And good morning and welcome, by the way.
Good morning. Yes, the last clip which he actually played now was my concern from the beginning. And that is when I read the letter, which purports to be the letter signed by the minister, there was no indication in the reasons, about the reasons why he took such a decision. And it became clear afterwards that the minister, as you actually played now, that the minister didn't attend any of the meetings he was invited to. So there's a serious question. Why did he, instruct the National Commissioner to close down the unit? And why did he not, accept the invitation to get the briefing? So that is questions which he needs to answer. On the other hand is, yes, the things which we are hearing now in Parliament elicited by the cross-examination or the questions of the MPs during the Nhlanhla his testimony at the Nhlanhla Commission. He was not, questioned about certain things in the way that the MPs are doing. The MPs is not holding back. So they go full out because they enjoy the privilege of the Parliament. The trust account investigation indicates that this investigation of the Nhlanhla Commission is not going to finish, concluded in 6 months as predicted. I think if the Nhlanhla Commission aims to do a thorough investigation into the allegations, it will take much longer.
And this is the part, let's just pick up on that before we move to other themes, is the corroboration of what Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is telling the ad hoc committee there. What's your sense of, as the kids say, the receipts that are being brought to the table to corroborate and back up what are really serious claims? And he has given hints in certain aspects to say, investigations have to begin, and we'll get to the Robert McBride, Paul O'Sullivan matter insofar as what he refers to, that investigations should continue there. But in others, that there are reports and investigations are clear. For example, the perimeter fence outside Nathi Mthethwa's home, the family is saying that that's not true at all. Mkhwanazi says that there is proof, or there is a report in regards to that already. So I just wanted you to appraise the veracity of what he's telling us, backed up against a really strong, inviolable body of evidence.
Yes, at this point in time, what was said in the Nhlanhla Commission and also at the Portfolio Committee, this ad hoc committee investigating these allegations, at this point in time, only allegations. So we have to wait for those implicated to come forward if they want to, or summoned by the Commission to refute those allegations if they are in a position to do so. This wall of the late Minister and Ambassador now of Nathi Mthethwa is not new. This was some time, it was reported that the secret funds were used by the police to build that particular wall. So, and nothing happened after it was reported. But now we've got the government of national unity, where one party doesn't have the power or a unilateral power to actually not to investigate. I think there will be some pressure from our other political parties within the GNU to demand an investigation into those allegations. And it's also an obligation maybe on the Nhlanhla Commission to investigate it. So what transpired so far is so serious. I think the time is now right that for the overall of the police management, because you know, there are allegations that there are people in crime intelligence and elsewhere in the police with criminal intent and support politicians, and by so doing, they actually captured politicians, according to Mkhwanazi.
Yeah.
So these things need to be investigated, and there must be consequences to those people who did allegedly did those things.
He talked about, insofar as Senzo Mchunu and a trust fund is concerned, that he, you know, basically after the letter of the disbandment and so on, and there are some theories that he shared with Parliament as to why he might have signed, and maybe we won't talk about that now. Let's home in on what that precipitated in terms of action from his part, is that he invited us to use our skills as police officers to keep scraping until we find gold. So that trust fund is now under scrutiny for what he believes are suspicious transactions. How explosive was that piece?
Yes, you know, that indicates to me that there's something more going on, and therefore I'm really pleased actually that the minister sent this particular letter and instructed the National Commissioner. If that letter was not sent to the National Commissioner to close down the PKTT, Political Killing Stars team, then we would have not have this information, you know, because according to Mkhwanazi, that was the thing which actually broke the camel's back. And for that particular reason, because he stood up for the members involved in that particular task team, to protect them and to ensure that they proceed with this very, very important investigations. So, yes, we have to wait to see what happens, what comes out from this investigation of the trust fund, and also similarly that the minister who's actually on suspension or special leave have to answer and explain about this trust fund and where the monies come from.
Yeah.
It is a clear indication that we will unravel now everything possible to make clear to clear the South African Police Service. And I hope, really, I hope, Iman, that it is very early days that the Nhlanhla Commission will interpret the Constitution properly and make it very clear where the boundaries of politicians are and what is the responsibility of the National Commissioner. You know, Mkhwanazi also mentioned that Mdluli, who was the head of crime intelligence and who's actually now sentenced and incarcerated and serving jail sentence, he was interviewed by a panel of politicians. And that is totally, you know, against the Constitution. And that shows you how politics actually infiltrated the police and took over the functions of the National Commissioner. And that cannot be allowed. You know, I would love to see that we have more Mkhwanazis in the South African Police Service, and that the president, as well as other role players who've got the powers to ensure that the police are independent, that they make sure that the police are sanitized by politics and rogue police officers.
I mean, it really is a catch cradle of these interconnected networks, Lennit Max, that are being exposed, or at least claims of these interconnected networks are being exposed at both the Nhlanhla Commission of Inquiry as well as this ad hoc committee hearings. I want to quickly bring in maybe 2 or 3 themes. We've only got about 3 minutes left. Is him talking about IPID and the work of IPID under its former head. This is Robert McBride. Associations between McBride, that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is claiming, between him and Paul O'Sullivan, who is a ubiquitous name in the space, referred to as a forensic investigator. We know that there's a separate issue around defamation that Mkhwanazi is bringing against him. But he made, you know, he said something quite disturbing. He said that he was told by the Chief of Staff of the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, that the operations of IPID were planned, coordinated and executed at Paul O'Sullivan's house. And he wants an investigation into that regard to be conducted to talk about cell phone records and where it places them. How concerned were you by something like that? And if true, again, as you say, and he's often said, you know, we're in a dangerous space.
Yes, as you know, IPOD's the duty is to monitor and investigate complaints against the African Police Service. And in terms of the act, they, anyone who's actually refusing to cooperate is guilty, will be guilty of a crime. Now, the IPOD have to consult with various people if there's allegations, and like any other investigator, if somebody can contribute to evidence and obtain evidence in that way, that is fine. But if there's a conspiracy, if there was a conspiracy between IPOD and O'Sullivan, just to get certain people with a particular agenda, then obviously that is very dangerous and it's totally unacceptable. So IPOD needs to be independent. It cannot conspire with any other person with malicious intent. So yes, that needs to be investigated. If that is the case, I think it must be unraveled by the Nhlanhla Commission as well.
My one thing, though, is, you know, again, calling for an investigation into suspicious transactions in terms of Senzo Mchunu's trust fund, calling for an investigation into what we've just talked about now, and a few other spaces. Would you have wanted him to have come with more evidence to both the Nhlanhla Commission of Inquiry and this committee?
Let me say Mkhwanazi appears from the beginning to me, because I'm also a lawyer, and I defend people in criminal cases. And I will be very careful if my client has been implicated by Mkhwanazi, because he's very confident. And I also mentioned that there's certain things which is back up his allegations, which cannot be disclosed openly, but in camera to the panel of Nhlanhla Commission. And people must have top clearance qualification to have access to that particular information. So I assume that not one of the MPs actually, who's accommodated in the portfolio committee do have such clearance.
Yeah.
So it will be impossible for him, and not in terms of the law, you know, for him to justifiably to show those information to the committee. Okay. But he will be in a position to provide it to the Nhlanhla Commission.